Welcome, one and all, once again to another Luke Fruia show here at Buick GMC and, Luke Fruia, Buick GMC and Cadillac. It's going to be a great show here talking sports with, of course, Jacob Young here on Rio Sports Live Network, RSLN. This is going to be a fantastic show. There's a lot to talk about here in the sports world from, just a ton of really things to talk about. The World Cup, of course, starting tomorrow, and we'll go on until close to the end of July, if I'm not mistaken, or mid-July, basically. We're, of course, going to talk RGV Red Crown soccer. We will also talk a lot about, we'll talk some about, of course, feel like it's necessary to talk about Sherryland High School and their run-up to state and the state championship for baseball. And how it was very interesting having, of course, just one game to decide the champion when all the rest were the best of three. I don't know, it just feels weird to me for that case in general. But anyways, a lot really to discuss on this show. We are going to start off by talking about, also we'll try and fit in College World Series baseball talk because that starts up this weekend as well. Should be phenomenal. But we start off with this, the RGV Red Crowns, of course, and their talk. Because this team, of course, has been a different team ever since they played against Brownsville, Texas Soccer Club. And the reason, of course, being, they don't want what happened in that match to happen again. And for the RGV Red Crowns, really stepped up their game afterwards. We talked about it last week after the RGV Red Crowns came back and were able to defeat none other than Austin United by their scoreline of 5-0, which was a massive job for that team. And then coming back on the road, this was a big game this past Saturday. Let's talk about exactly why. Well, there was a special player that ended up joining the team once again. And why I say once again is because, he already had joined the team a year prior, but it didn't seem like this man was coming back. His name, of course, being Cade Erickson. Cade Erickson did not return, at least for the roster at the start of the season. And we were expecting that for the RGV Red Crowns, kind of seeing, okay, unfortunately, he's not going to make it. The reason, of course, being, he has a family. It's off-season from him moving. For Cade Erickson, we all know, of course, his story in some aspects of it, at least for this part. But if you don't know, it's really simple. Cade Erickson played for UTRGV Soccer for a while, then decided to move over to USF, the University of South Florida, and he ended up getting to play for USF. And was a good move for him career-wise in general, just because, he'd get to play not only more minutes, but against tougher opponents. In that conference up there is not the easiest conference to deal with for soccer. You have a lot tougher teams to play against around that area. Just ask JC Alvarez as well. Anyways, this was pretty cool to see, of course. Cade Erickson played around 600 minutes this past season in the 15 matches that they got to play. He did a good job throughout those, I believe, scoring 6 goals this past season. What I could find from, of course, the website of University of South Florida, where they keep their stats and all of that. So really, really good player coming back into the lineup for the RGV Red Crowns. It's something that we didn't expect to see. At least I didn't expect to see once I saw that the team was kind of set in stone. I'm happy that he's on the team. Let me be very clear about that. That happened around Wednesday, Thursday-ish, is when we learned that the team was, that he was back with the team. Things got even better for the RGV Red Crowns. The RGV Red Crowns had been kind of keeping this to themselves. Not necessarily a lot of people knew about it, but it was leaked by the city. And then all of a sudden, even though it was leaked by the city, Jamal Colby Fayad did announce that there would be a national running commercial that would be through every single World Cup match for the whole entire World Cup, because Bank of America were a massive sponsor for the World Cup in general. They were able to strike up a deal with the Red Crowns. And so the Red Crowns made a commercial, and it is absolutely a phenomenal commercial. Let me just break it down for you all, just in case you haven't seen it. It will be airing again tomorrow. It probably might even air tonight. Who knows? But it's going to air throughout the World Cup. It starts off, of course, with Bank of America soccer ball, kind of in the concourse area at Harlingen Field, and then it goes into Jamal Colby Fayad sitting in the stadium in the seat with a cool voiceover. Then it moves to him in his little office area or potentially press box. And then it moves into there's something going on the stadium grounds, culture, and then it pops to the RGV Red Crown, the red crown that is the bird that's what the team is named after from Harlingen. And it was just so well done. Absolutely amazing. And now this team is officially nationally recognized, of course, because that wasn't just shown in the RGV. That was shown in Houston. That was shown in El Paso. That was shown in New Mexico. That was shown potentially in Mexico, too. But that was shown, of course, in Los Angeles, California. Shown in all of California. Was shown in New York. It was shown everywhere. It was during the U.S. men's national team match this past Saturday when they faced off against Germany for their final send-off match. Sending them off, of course, to somewhere else in the U.S. because that's where, of course, the USA will play all their matches, will be in the United States. So that was really cool to see the amount of, not the amount, but just, the amount of effort that it went to make that commercial. And it was nationally done with Bank of America. And the RGV Red Crowns were traveling at that time. They were traveling to Austin to face off against, to be exact, Westlake, around that area, to face off against FC Westlake. FC Westlake at the time were the second team in the conference standings. At the time, of course, in the table, the Red Crowns had kind of moved into that fourth spot with 7 points due to the fact, again, of dropping those 2 points against Brownsville, Texas FC, or soccer club. I keep bringing that up because this is kind of the turning point of this team. They won their first match. They get the 3 points. They drop 2 points against Brownsville, Texas Soccer Club that should have honestly been able to take those 3 points, but just undermined a team that they shouldn't have undermined. That's as simple as that. Then the Red Crowns, of course, moved on. Back at home, back at Harlingen Field, and were able to defeat Austin United by a score of 5-0. This was a phenomenal start. The RGV Red Crowns had 7 points to their name heading into the next week on the road at FC Westlake. 16 minutes in, Vicente Alvarez starts the scoring off. 1-0. Kate Erickson gets on the scoreboard as well. He actually scored 2 goals in that match. At halftime, it was 3-0. Kate Erickson didn't, I believe, score those 2 goals in the first half. But point is, it was 3-0. A lot of players got on the scoring book, and that was something that we wanted to see for this team. And the Red Crowns defeated FC Westlake 6-0. A team that was second place, that's loss before then, had only been to, if I'm not mistaken, the top team in the league. Of course, we'll go back to that to make sure about it. And this was kind of the biggest answer. Because I wanted to make sure about this. FC Westlake, of course, beforehand, had lost 4-1 against Capital City Soccer Club. Had defeated Central Texas Coyotes FC 2-0. Had defeated Brownsville, Texas Soccer Club 3-0. A team that may not win another match this season or even get another point this season. Drew against Austin United FC on June 3rd. And then played against the RGV Red Crowns and lost 6-0. So had 1 loss and 1 draw to them. They had lost at home as well, is another thing that I'm talking about. The RGV Red Crowns had come into that match and were looking to be victorious, keeping their streak alive. I'd said on this show last week, the team has to stay calm, has to play with a chip on their shoulder again, cannot undermine this FC Westlake opponent. And FC Westlake were atop of the table, second place to be exact, only about a point or two off of the top of the table, like we mentioned. At that time, Red Crowns came out scoring, and which is absolutely phenomenal. The Red Crowns now, of course, their goal differential, I don't know if they have the goal differential here. Yes, they do, because I'm very curious. 16 goals for, one against, so their goal differential is 15. No one else has a goal differential of 15. Capital City Soccer Club, their goal differential is only 11. The RGV Red Crowns, of course, their blunder early on in the season against none other than Brownsville, Texas Soccer Club is a reason why the RGV Red Crowns aren't at the top of the table, because they could have potentially had at this time 14 points. Or check that, sorry. Could also have 12 points and be at the top of the table because of that. Now, they do play against Capital City Soccer Club this Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure that I have that correctly just in case. But we can't get too ahead of ourselves. But on this show, I will talk about it because we do have enough time to do exactly that. Yes, indeed. Capital City Soccer Club will play at home against the RGV Red Crowns June 13th this Saturday. So, with, of course, the RGV Red Crowns playing tonight, this is going to be interesting because they played Saturday. Having a day of travel Sunday, basically, getting back and resting. Then Monday, maybe more resting, but definitely getting back to at least a bit of practice. Tuesday, possibly having one more day of rest, possibly, before traveling today to get there for the match. If I'm not mistaken, that's how it went. If not, they traveled last night. Anyways, this match starts at 7:30 p.m. This is against Central Texas Coyotes FC. Both of these two sides know each other. RGV Red Crowns played against Central Texas Coyotes FC in the first match, winning 4-0. Vicente Alvarez opening up the scoring in that match. Isidro Martinez scoring 2 goals, a brace in that match as well. And it really showed how well this team can be. So the Red Crowns, of course, came into the season opening up the scoreline like that, 4-0. Now, Central Texas Coyotes FC, since the first match came into playing against Austin United and losing, check that, actually winning that match 3-0. Let me make sure about that really quickly because I'm all confused at how that it's done on the League for Clubs website. 9 points for Central Texas Coyotes FC. So that's why, of course, I'm looking at this. Okay, so I was correct on this. 3 points against Brownsville Soccer Club. 3 points against Austin United FC, 2-1, in dramatic fashion. So that's 6 points right there. A loss to Capital City SCU, 2-1. And a defeat, a win against Austin United as well, 3-0. So this team, since the loss to the Red Crowns, have figured out how to play, have figured out how to really get back into this season. So that's something that the RGV Red Crowns need to remember. This isn't the same Central Texas Coyotes FC team that they played against weeks ago in the first match of the season. It's not. It has not been the team, just due to the fact of how much success the RGV Red Crowns have had and how much success Central Texas Coyotes FC have had at home. Again, the Red Crowns have to go into this one thinking that it's a must-win, thinking that they can't just easily roll over a team. No team can they easily roll over in this conference, as they've learned. Yes, these two sides played against each other, but I'm not going to, in any circumstance, try to predict what the final score will be. It's going to be a tightly contested match. I think much tougher, to be exact, than the last match and years prior. This is a team that the RGV Red Crowns can defeat. Let me be clear. But they'll have to focus for all 90 minutes. Cannot get away from them with basically the same keys to the victory that it almost always is. Stay out of trouble. Do not argue with the referee. Focus for 90 minutes. Let the coaching staff deal with all that arguing and things. Scoring goals. Fun fact, of course, as I mentioned on my social media, but I'll say it here as well, is that every single goalkeeper that has started for the RGV Red Crowns has at least one shutout to their name. JC Alvarez was added to that list. He's the only one that has started twice this season. And who knows who will get the nod tonight. We will find that out probably 1 hour before kickoff here, which will be very, very exciting to see how this team will face off against none other than Central Texas Coyotes FC. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we will move on and talk about some Sherryland High School baseball and congratulate them, of course, on their run as state runner-ups in baseball. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
No importa en cuál etapa de tu vida te encuentres, Texas Almus College está aquí para ayudarte a progresar. Ya sea que estés empezando desde cero, cambiando de carrera o adquiriendo nuevas habilidades, TSC tiene programas accesibles diseñados para adaptarse a tus metas. Es hora de dar el siguiente paso. Piensa en grande, piensa claramente, piensa en TSC.
Time to take a new look, maybe your first look at Buick. If smart, hip, and affordable is for you, Buick's your brand. Fruia Buick, Brownsville, Texas.
100 years ago, in the heart of the Rio Grande Valley, a spark was born. From the first dreamers who stepped onto these grounds, Texas Southmost College has stood as a promise that determination can overcome any challenge. Join us as we honor our past, celebrate our present, and ignite the future together. Texas Southmost College, 100 years strong, and the next 100 begin with you.
I fell on a loose towel at the grocery store, and now they're saying it's my fault. Do you think you could help?
Of course I can help. You should be focused on feeling better.
Oh, thank you, Law Champ. Hey, do you think I can get a selfie?
Of course.
This is the island where even the grown-ups forget what day it is. South Padre is more than an island. It's the island.
Back we go once again to hear from none other than Luke Fruia Motors, Luke Fruia Buick GMC and Cadillac. If you're in the market for a new car, come check it out here in Brownsville, Texas. Well, now, of course, we have moved on. Once again, I'm Jacob Young. This is RSLN, Rio Sports Live Network. Moved on to getting to talk about some baseball very quickly. Before, of course, we talk about none other than the College World Series, we have to talk about Sharyland High School and their baseball season. A team that made it the longest in the RGV than any other team in the RGV. That is Sharyland High School baseball. A fantastic season for this side. It's interesting. Of course, I got to cover Sharyland High School baseball this season, Sharyland Pioneer as well. And it was so crazy because the first game, I think, of the season that I covered, if not it was one of the first games. It was not the tournament in Edinburgh, at Edinburgh Villa, but it was the spring break game, which was interesting. The spring break week. First game on Monday was Pioneer Diamondbacks taking on Sharyland High School Rattlers baseball. And at the time, after that game, I came out thinking, this Sharyland Pioneer baseball team is a team that might not lose this season. Then the next day, they lost to McAllen Rowe. Then I thought to myself, okay, this McAllen Rowe team looks really good. Boy, was I wrong. Because, of course, down the road, down the line, got to cover Sharyland High School a little bit more, and that was really fun to be able to cover that team. Now, here's a fun fact about that. With covering Sharyland High School, I started to see the improvements that they had made throughout the whole entire season on their lineup, the movement around, and just this team seemed a lot better in general, not a lot more focused. And they took advantage of that. They took advantage of the play. And, well, the Rattlers showed up. McAllen Rowe, funny enough, ended up getting swept in the playoffs in 5A over the Palmview Lobos in baseball. Had a chance to win game one, lost game one, then lost, of course, game two, so that was an area. Meanwhile, Sharyland High School are winning their games comfortably, getting chances to play in the regional semis, getting chances to play in the regional finals, and all of a sudden they were able to do exactly that in that regional final. Here comes the semifinals as well. Can Sharyland High School move on and get to play for a state championship? Not only just getting to state, but could they play for a state championship? We all know the answer to that was yes. Sharyland High School did a phenomenal job in the state semifinals for baseball. This team will be remembered for a long time for at least a school in the Valley. But it was, of course, game number one that really showed us versus Kingwood Park that the Rattlers were there to stay. 5-3 and then 5-2. Winning by 2 runs and then winning by 4 runs. Sorry, winning by 2 runs and winning by 3 runs. And then losing to Lovejoy 7-2 for a state championship. Lovejoy knew that they were going to be able to pull that victory. And did just that. But again, the Rattlers came off of a victory, something that we did not expect to see to have happen. Was a team to get that far, but it goes to my point, and I'm going to make this point, as I do almost every single year that something like this happens. This is where these sports shine the brightest. In the Valley. Baseball, a massive opportunity for teams in the Valley to bring home a state title. Soccer, same deal in boys. Girls, it's very much a lot tougher. Then, basketball, not really a chance for a team from the Valley to bring home a state title. Forget about baseball and volleyball, because I don't think that's ever going to happen in my lifetime or yours. For a state championship in UIL, in volleyball and or basketball. And forget about ever dreaming about a state championship in football. My point is support the sports that have the opportunity to bring home a state championship. That can also be tennis. But my point will still stand until there's a state champion from the Valley for football, for basketball, in UIL, in volleyball. Because there's plenty of state champions in soccer. There's plenty of state champions in even softball. And there's plenty of state runner-ups in baseball. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. But either way, once again, congratulations for Sugarland High School. Baseball, they are your state runner-ups. Region 4. Champions. Remember that. Regional champions. I have to remember if they're in Division 2 or Division 1. I believe that they're in Division 2. There we go. So, Texas Division 5A, D2. Doesn't really make a whole lot of difference when it really comes down to it, because sometimes even Division 2 is tougher than Division 1. But again, Region 4 champs, not easy to do. State runner-ups. Gosh, is that a long season just to come up that short? But again, a fantastic job. Putting up 2 runs against Lovejoy is not even easy to do. So, that's really all I had to say on that. Again, congratulations to Sherryland High School and the Rattlers for doing a fantastic job. Moving on. And this is a fun topic to talk about. We stay with the baseball side of things, but we get to talk about none other than Omaha. And why would we talk about Omaha? Because it's a College World Series for baseball. The Men's College World Series is upon us. We had, of course, the Women's College World Series end this past week as well. That was interesting, to say the least. Texas Tech made it to the championship game to face off against none other than the University of Texas. The Longhorns were trying to go back-to-back for the first time, and probably in a long time, just in general, for a team to go back-to-back since probably Oklahoma. And Oklahoma had, of course, been well eliminated, which was interesting to say the least. And so the Texas Longhorns, winning, of course, their regional easily, their super regional easily, and then moving on to the College World Series, winning all the games they had to, even when they were faced in the loser's bracket, having to face Tennessee in the semifinals. The Volunteers lost game 1. Remember, the Volunteers were undefeated at that time. Have to lose twice. Texas and Tennessee played. And Tennessee lost. The Longhorns advanced to the championship. Texas Tech did the same thing and were able to advance to the championship. Could not put up runs. Their bats went cold. Really as simple as that. And Texas dominated game 1 and dominated game 2. There's not much else to talk about for that one. The Longhorns are your national champions in softball. So you move on to, of course, now the College World Series, the Men's College World Series. Let me tell you who the 8 teams are in this Men's College World Series. Very exciting with the 8 teams because I'm excited for who these 8 teams are. We expected an outlier to be in Omaha with an interesting super regional that I still think is one of the weirdest super regionals that was ever played. Just for clarification, imagine this. UTRGV Vaqueros get to the NCAA tournament out of the Southland Conference. Get placed in a very difficult region like I don't even know. Maybe like a North Carolina regional or potentially, of course, like Texas A&M or even Texas as a region. Somehow, some way defeat Texas and move on to the Super. Somehow, some way on the other region, an upset happens on that side too. And you get UTRGV getting to host a regional or super regional, playing against, Texas State. But somehow they're better than Texas State. Their record, of course, is better, and they get to host. Remember, UTRGV's stadium for baseball can fit about 6,000, just over. They can somehow, some way pack 8,000 people for a game. I've never seen that happen, but I've heard it has. Anyways, imagine that. Super regional. It's going to attract a lot more. Troy did that with Arkansas State is what I'm trying to get at. And Troy got to host that super regional. They brought extra bleachers, and they were able to add to 6,000 seats, 6,000 plus seats in their baseball park. Troy advanced to Omaha. West Virginia and the Volunteers got to do the same thing, host the Super Regional, and they advanced to Omaha. That's the first game, Friday, June 12th, 2026 at 1 p.m. Central Time. Cannot wait for that one. How about the next game after that, Friday, June 12th at 6 p.m. Central Time? It's going to be Ole Miss and UNC. Remember, double elimination. Oklahoma and Alabama will play against each other. That'll be Saturday at 2 p.m. Central Time, and then Texas and Georgia. Technically 5 out of the 8 teams are SEC teams, but 2 out of the 4 games are SEC versus SEC opponents in the College World Series. Oklahoma Sooners defeated Kansas to get there, which was something that some expected. But for myself, I didn't expect it to be as bad as it was. The Oklahoma Sooners in the final game, I think the final score might have been around 12 or 13-2. It was like an 11-run win. And the Texas Longhorns, of course, they won their Super Regional easily, like we said. Georgia, same deal. getting there. UNC just defeating Southern Cal. Southern Cal could not keep it together, and they lost for UNC to find their way through. Ole Miss, of course, played against Auburn, and so Ole Miss were able to win that one. So very exciting super regionals that led to, of course, the opening weekend of the Men's College World Series up in Omaha, Nebraska. My predictions, at least for the first games, West Virginia will take it over Troy. I think Ole Miss will have enough firepower to beat UNC, though UNC are not an easy team in the slightest. And then Oklahoma and Alabama. I expect Alabama to defeat Oklahoma, but who knows? And Georgia to defeat Texas. Georgia have seemed like the best team in the nation for a while, especially in the SEC. Texas, they have a lot of weak spots, and they have proven it time and time again. They had to burn a redshirt freshman. So he is now just a freshman and lost one of his years of eligibility. Though I don't know if that will matter too much, but it is baseball, so it might matter more, or might matter more than before. Anyways, so that is what we're expecting in general, with, of course, this opening weekend in Omaha, Nebraska. Like I mentioned, I expect it to be West Virginia, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Georgia winning their first games, putting OU, UNC, and Troy, Texas, OU, UNC, and Troy in the losers bracket, with one loss away from losing from losing for the rest of the season. But that's just me. It'll be interesting to see how it actually all plays out here coming very, very soon. We're going to take another break. When we return, we will talk. Well, we'll see what we'll talk about. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
At Tortilleria Ibañez, flavor starts fresh every day. Crispy flautas, homemade tamales, and our signature chicken salad, all made for you. Tortilleria Ibañez, tradition on every plate.
It means a lot to me. TSC has changed me to make me realize that I can accomplish things. Just don't give up. I've come a long way from where I was to what I am now, and there's no limit to where I'm going.
Give your little one the best start at Brownsville ISD's Pre-K3 and Pre-K4 programs. At BISD, 3 and 4-year-olds develop fundamental skills that pave the way to lifelong success. With quality educators, access to the latest technology, and free nutritious meals to fuel the day, our young minds explore and learn in exciting new ways. Enroll your 3 and 4-year-old today at Brownsville ISD, the best choice.
Kenny Perez came from a small town in Texas. At Kenny Perez Law, we won't stop fighting until our clients get what's rightfully theirs. We're right by your side, no matter what. Call Kenny Perez Injury Lawyers today, 956-999-1111.
Back we go once again here from Luke Fruia, Buick GMC and Cadillac. If you're in the market for a new car, come check it out. Once again here on RSLN, Rio Sports Live Network. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network. We are talking about sports. And, well, I'd be a fool not to bring this up. We are just literally under 24 hours until the World Cup officially starts. 2 p.m. Central Time will be the first game of the World Cup starting tomorrow. It'll be up in Mexico. It'll be Mexico versus South Africa. Let's quickly look into each group for a split second into the FIFA World Cup groups. Because it's very interesting. Mexico, of course, playing against South Africa. Then tomorrow at a later time will be South Korea and Czechia at 9 p.m. Before Friday, June 12th at 2 p.m. being against, well, Canada playing Bosnia and Herzegovina. Let's continue. Of course, USA and Paraguay will round out Friday at 8 p.m. Qatar and Switzerland will play Saturday at 2 p.m. with Brazil and Morocco playing at 5 p.m. with Haiti and Scotland at 8. Group D will also be at 11 p.m. Australia and Turkey, which is just crazy to think that there's going to be a World Cup match on at 11 p.m. Central Time in the U.S. That will be Australia and Turkey. That's in Group D. Before going to Group E on Sunday, Germany, Curaçao, with Netherlands and Japan at 3 p.m., Ivory Coast and Ecuador at 6, and Sweden and Tunisia at 9 p.m. A lot more respectable times at that moment for Group F before going to Group H, Spain and Cabo Verde at 11 a.m. with Belgium and Egypt at 2 p.m. Saudi Arabia and Uruguay Monday at 5 p.m. before Iran and New Zealand at 8 p.m. France and Senegal at 2 p.m. with Iraq. This is on Tuesday. In Group I, to be exact, Iraq, Norway, Iraq and Norway at 5 p.m. with Argentina and Algeria at 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Before going into Group J, Austria and Jordan at 11 p.m. Group K is Portugal and DR Congo. That is Wednesday. Group L is England and Croatia. Ghana and Panama playing in Group L at 6 p.m. And Uzbekistan with Colombia at 9 p.m. Thursday, June 18th, we're back to the top of the group. Czechia and South Africa. Both teams, that'll be their second match. In Group A, then we'll mix it up with Group B. Switzerland and Bosnia and Herzegovina playing in Group B. For Canada and Qatar playing Thursday, June 18th. Then Group A, finishing off the day, Mexico and South Korea. That will be a fun one because those two teams are very much used to each other. Depending on how that first match went for both, that could be the game to potentially get them through to the next round. USA, Australia. Group D, Friday, June 19th. So a week from Friday will be their second game. USA will play against Australia. So very exciting. Once again, that's just, of course, your week in advance for the World Cup. I'm looking forward to it. I don't have high hopes for any North American team, but I will be watching, of course, and rooting for the United States in the World Cup as well. I was born in the U.S., have U.S. family, don't have any ties to Mexico, no reason for me to root for them. And U.S. men's national team, there are high expectations, though, because this is the group that is supposed to be the best group that they've had. Yet, lately, USA have been struggling to win games, even in friendlies. Struggled, of course, not too long ago to make it out of the group stage in Copa America. Did not win the Gold Cup against Mexico. Have really, like I mentioned, struggling to do that. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this World Cup goes for everybody. Like I mentioned, USA, of course, in their group stage, kind of meant to talk a little bit more about just the group stage in general. Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and the Czech Republic, Czechia, to be exact. Mexico and South Africa, there's a good chance Mexico loses that match. Then they play against South Korea. There's a good chance Mexico don't win that game either. Potentially draw against South Korea. They have 1 point. Now, depending on how that South Africa and Czechia game goes, is where Mexico would fall. If they would have to technically win the last match to make it, and they would play against the Czech Republic, Czechia to be exact. That's a team that is a wild card. They could get lucky and have an easier ride to make it through. As for the United States, as we talked a little bit about it, in Group D, it's an interesting group. USA open up play with Paraguay, as we talked about. USA need to get off to a good start and win that match to get 3 points, because if they draw against Paraguay, it's not the end of the world, but they play against Australia. It's not an easy team. And Turkey, they've been a difficult opponent where they were successful in the UEFA Euros two years ago. So I don't know how it's going to phase out. I don't know how it's going to play out. There's a good chance USA don't make it out of the group stage. If they make it out of the group stage, it is most likely going to be successful, even as a number 2 team making it out of the group stage. Because if that happens, they don't have where teams would most likely go. But, again, they could get drawn up well to potentially have a real shot to make it out of the round of 16, the knockout stage. Remember, this is the first World Cup with an expanded bracket. That's why, of course, there's so many group stage matches. There's so many group stage match ones before we even get to, of course, the USA playing again. That's why it's a whole entire week, basically, from when every single team plays to their next match. And then, of course, what I love is every single group will basically almost get a day or a time where they will play at the same exact time because they don't want any match fixing, which is something that FIFA has done a phenomenal job with keeping tabs on in general. So, very exciting. Prediction to win the World Cup. It is early, but of course, early predictions are always the best. I will have to say this, Spain are the favorites, and I would expect Spain to do pretty well in this World Cup and potentially win it all. Spain-Portugal final could happen. I don't see that happening. What would be pretty epic be, for some strange reason, England do so well that they make it to the finals, and it's Spain-England. The reason, of course, being, well, because it's such a highly anticipated match on the women's side that it would be fun on the men's, but it's probably not going to happen, and a Spain-Portugal final could be on the cards for this year. Just mark my words that they could be on the opposite sides of the bracket and meet up for the final. That's my prediction, and I do think that Spain will take it all. But moving on. Very quickly, I have to give a quick shout out, of course. We always wear the bucket hat here. To Samantha Tan Racing, Random Vandals Racing. They were able to put together the drive of their season this year in very, very hot, muggy mid-Ohio. That's in Lexington, Ohio, to be exact, where the racetrack is. And Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And the team were able to get the job done. They didn't win a race or get on the podium or anything like that, but considering how their season started with a very unfortunate wreck very early on to where they kept getting stuck in the pit lane at Daytona Motor Speedway to moving on to, of course, Sebring, getting a little bit better there And then, of course, finally getting into the top 10, 7th place. Samantha Tan survived her first stint. And then, once again, Bill Oberlin, the man, the myth, and the legend, took care of business and got the job done. P7, the highest finish for Samantha Tan Racing and Random Vandals Racing this season. Congratulations to them. We look for bigger things coming up very, very soon. There's Canada on the tables. There's Road America on the tables. I believe there's Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. We know that they'll be there. So still a lot of racing to go and potentially a chance where they get on the podium and also will be at the top of the class. They find themselves, I believe, 7th in points as well. So slowly but surely climbing up there too to get a very respectful finish. So that was your quick rundown, of course, for Samantha Tan Racing. Now moving on. This was something pretty interesting. It was pretty... So this, of course, was pretty interesting, to say the least. It's one quick thing that I actually did discuss this past week. I'm just debating whether or not to talk about it, and I will very quickly. Brendan Sorsby. We have to update you all on this. The team, basically, Texas Tech, were able to go to a district judge in Lubbock, Texas, and they granted him an injunction to play during the court date. And the court date, of course, is in February of 2027, meaning that Brendan Sorsby can play the whole entire season with the 2-game suspension. After, of course, breaking the one rule that is supposed to not allow you to play ever again. NFL would never allow this to happen. The NBA would never allow this to happen. He gambled. He gambled on his team. He gambled, in general, on his own sport. But will be able to play this season. That's your update on that. It's crazy. Teams are saying that they do not want to play against him, or that they don't want to play against Texas Tech because of that. So it's very interesting, to say the least, on that note. But moving on from that, very quickly to close out the show, I will talk a little bit about as well, the San Antonio Spurs and New York Knicks started off the NBA Finals. It's 2-1 with game number 4 tonight. In MSG, San Antonio Spurs were able to defeat the New York Knicks 115-111 to be victorious in the end. So very much interesting, to say the least. As well, game number 4 is happening tonight. Speaking about something happening tonight, we already talked about the RGV Red Crowns. Well, they will also face off this Saturday against none other than the top team in the league, that is Capital City Soccer Club. That's going to be a very difficult match in general for the RGV Red Crowns. They have to have that chip on their shoulder. We'll see what happens tonight as well. For me really to predict anything that can happen, they have to stay focused as well, fit as possible, make sure that they are taking the recovery correctly, because this is going to be the toughest week of their season. And coming out with 6 points throughout this weekend, throughout this Wednesday and Saturday, could be key. But we'll wait and see how that all plays out. It's kind of my final thoughts on the RGV Red Crowns. There's not much else to talk about, as we mentioned. Not even really, well, UTRGV, of course, they officially have announced their men's soccer schedule. I did talk about that. The football schedule, of course, has been out as well. We'll read you all both of those schedules here momentarily, because I'm sure that everyone wants to know, even for the Vaqueros football schedule, who they're going to play. All the home games will, plus every single game will be on ESPN Plus to be exact. UT Permian Basin will be the home opener for the UTRGV Vaqueros on August 29th. How about September 5th when they travel to the Alamo Dome to face off against UTSA at 2:30 p.m.? You'd think that that would be on national TV, aka ESPNU or anything like that. No, it's just going to be on ESPN Plus. Then they'll face off on the road to Nichols before heading back home against McNeese at home. Then back on the road at East Texas A&M University before heading back home to Southeastern Louisiana. Or before heading back home to face off against Southeastern Louisiana University and then UIW. So that should be very interesting. With, of course, incarnate word, Central Arkansas will be on the road as well. So UTRGV making a trip to Central Arkansas is what looks to be the case, as well as being back home to play against Lamar University. Then on the road against Northwestern State before their final home match, their final home game on November 14th versus Stephen F. Austin. And then back on the road to finish off the year against Houston Christian University. Very quickly, with 3 minutes to go here in the show, UT Permian Basin will be a victory. Game at home against McNeese should be a victory as well. Against Southeastern should be a victory. And against Lamar. Those are 4 games. Those are all their home games except for, of course, Stephen F. Austin. Stephen F. Austin is a big challenge where I don't think they will be victorious against him. Stephen F. Austin are that good of a team. They have been for years and years. I don't necessarily expect UTRGV to come up with a victory. Now, getting to play against Northwestern State. Northwestern State, this was something very interesting. Northwestern State hadn't gotten a victory in years and years until last year, breaking that deadlock. So UTRGV should get the job done there. That is 6 games. Against Nichols and against UTSA. UTSA, of course, being a non-conference game, will most likely lose it, but we'll learn a lot more about this team and where they will most likely finish in the Southland Conference after that game if they are competitive against UTSA, because I don't expect UTSA to be that good of a team this year. As for, of course, the East Texas A&M University, it's on the road. After those 2 road games, I would expect UTRGV to at least be able to bounce back and win on the road, even if they do defeat Nichols. But there's a high percent chance, there's a high probability they lose against Nichols. The Vaqueros lose against, of course, Central Arkansas. It's not a conference team. And lose against Houston Christian University. So we're looking at probably finishing off in the conference play a 3-loss UTRGV football team in conference, 4 losses in total, with, of course, a D1 FBS team they would have played against in the Alamo Dome. Now, Vaquero fans, just hear me out here. They will not be, when they do play against UTSA again, they will not be playing UTSA at Robert and Janet Wagner Stadium due to the fact of, well, they are an FCS school. They get paid to go over to play those games like they got paid to play against UTSA. That is the truth. You will not see UTRGV host a team like UTSA for a long while until they make that jump to the FBS, which will be probably 10 to 20 years from now. Maybe if they speed up the process, 5 to 6 years. Anyways, that is going to do it for us here from Luke Fruia, Buick GMC and Cadillac, as it is officially 3 p.m. Thank you all so very much for watching. Just wanted to, of course, break down that last little thing because it was very interesting to me that the schedule is official. So, once again, UT Permian Basin, UTSA, Nichols, McNeese, East Texas A&M, Southeastern, UIW, Central Arkansas, Lamar, Northwestern State, CMF Austin, and Houston Christian University. Those are the teams that UTRTV Vaqueros football will be playing against. Their home games are UT Permian Basin, McNeese, Southeastern, Lamar, and Stephen F. Austin, with a total of 5 home games. So not a lot of home games, but that's kind of as expected. Anyways, we'll see you all very soon. Until then, I've been Jacob Young.